Yes, have a magical time with me, Tony Darroch, here in the Stamps by Me studio, the How to Craft Network studio. So let's dive straight in. Hopefully you have your kit at hand and you did get your little shopping list for all the items that you're going to need. I didn't try and put it in too much detail, and I didn't try and ask you for you to bring lots of kit and things, but hopefully we'll be able to get through with just a few ink pads, some stamping techniques and things like that. Bit of card, that's all you're going to need. So the A4 stamp set that we're going to use today, you should have in your kit. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And it's in keeping with the Stamps by Me theme. It has all of the different sorts of concepts that we love when we are stamping and creating at Stamps by Me. So we have our wonderful reflection collection here down here. So it's our stamp set that gives you that reflection. We don't have to reflect it anymore. It's built into the stamp. Then we have lamination, which is that two-part sort of stamp concept, watercoloured element, and then the outline. And then we have some everyday ones as well. I've got some cool techniques this evening, so I can see the comments as well. And if I can answer any comments, I absolutely will. Feel free to ask them. But if I do miss them, we will save the comments and I'll hopefully be able to answer them after. If we do have our other meetings as well for our catalogue and things like that, if you have the same questions, you can ask me them there as well. So shall we dive straight in? Now, the problem I have is I'm always a giddy kipper when it comes to crafting. I am super excited about this evening. Obviously, it's brand new to me, so you'll have to give me feedback, guys. But when it comes to a little bit of ink, a little bit of card, the things that you can create, playing with paper makes me very happy. And I'm hoping that you feel the same and that will outpour into our lovely customers who buy the products from Stamps by Me. So, first of all, I'm going to do a slimline card. Now, you will have a slimline card. Listen, if you don't have the product, all you're going to need throughout the whole show is some ink pads, a spray bottle, and some white card. Okay, that is it. But if you have the shaped cards, absolutely brilliant. But if you don't, you can skip a beat and just do it straight onto white card, okay? So, let's crack straight on. Now, I'm going to use the wonderful cabin, and it's this card here. Now, I'm just show you the cabin on the stamp set here. It's this one here. It's absolutely wonderful. And it's this one here. But looking at it, you would think that it's been coloured, and it totally hasn't. I haven't picked up a pen. I haven't picked up a pencil. I'm going to show you a little bit of a cheat on this one in relation to getting that texture and that colour in the back, and that just a little bit of sparkle to enhance the card. So I'm going to use a lovely cabin. So if you want to grab the cabin, now I'm using an acrylic block here, but I do appreciate some of you will have stamping aids and platforms and things like that. I do have my own as well, but I didn't want to put it in the kit list in case somebody didn't have it. So we're just going acrylic, we're going old style crafting here, guys. So basically, to get this coloured background and get this lovely texture on here, super easy. So we need the stamp, and then you just need a bunch of ink pads. So I'm going with greens on the top and like a rustic cabin. So I've got, you can use any ink pads of your colour, whatever you have at home, all of them work, all of the dye-based inks, okay? So I'm going to go green, teal. So let's have a look. The size of the slimline card, if you are creating along, is 4x8. So you can see just on my mat here, 4x8. Super simple here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, that was a great question, by the way. I am trying to multitask. I'm a little bit nervous, but honestly, as soon as I get into the swing of it, I'll be on fire, let me tell you. We'll be rocking and rolling with our cards. So what I'm going to do is with the greenery at the top here, I'm just going to ink it up with some tones of green. Now, if you're doing autumn cards, Christmas cards, you can totally change up the theme, whatever you want to do, okay? Totally your call. Now, you can do it straight onto your slimline card on the front if you want to, or you can do it onto a piece of white card and then glue. It's totally preference how you like to do your cards at home. I always like to do white onto white, but if you have a slimline card, you can do exactly the same just on here, okay? So I'm just going to take the piece of card that I'm going to pop it on. I hope you're enjoying the workshops, everyone, because isn't it cool to get a lot of different techniques and different styles of cards from lots of different people? I think it's wonderful. I wish I was at the other side of the table. I would absolutely love it. So I'm going to take a green and I'm just going to spot it onto the tree area. Now I've just angled my ink pad here just spotted it. I haven't covered it all because I really want to get a little bit of texture and tone in here. So I'm going to take a different colour green and I'm just going to spot that in a different area. I'm staying away from the cabin. So, and the beauty of this technique is if you don't get it quite right, it still looks brilliant, honestly. A bit of a teal here. So maybe spot a little bit of teal down here. I love anything that's going to make me look better than I absolutely am. So, and this is a great shortcut. It looks cool on craft card. It looks cool on black card. So I have a brown ink pad here for my cabin. So I'm just going to ink up my cabin. Now, what you might find throughout the course of this lovely workshop is we have to start a card and put it to one side whilst it dries. And I hope that's okay. Simply because I didn't want to ask everybody to bring heat tools and things like that either in case people didn't have them. So if we start a card, we might have to put it to one side to dry, but then we'll come back to it. So with this card here, normally we spray our stamps and then we'll stamp it down. But for a little bit of difference today, I'm going to spray the card. Now, it's not watercolour card, it's just everyday card. So you can use any white cardstock. Your Nina card's absolutely fine. Thick or thin, it will all work. So I'm going to spray the card twice. Now, if you spray too much, you'll get a flood and it still looks cool. So don't be off put by the flood, okay? In my classes, I always call it the flood and it still looks fantastic. So bear with it. So I'm just going to spray the card twice. And then I'm going to take the stamp and I'm going to stamp it into the wet card just by the base here. And you'll see it all sort of bleed together and give you that sort of realism watercolour finish on there. So just hold it in place, give the card the opportunity to drink that ink. Now, if you if you spray the stamp and stamp it down, I find it doesn't bleed as much. But I always find you get a better result if you spray the card and stamp the ink into the spray. Look what happens here. So I've got like a lovely sort of cabin design on there. Totally awesome. And you can see how it's bleeding out. I've kept some of the detail and some of the not detail. So let's just give my stamp a little clean here. So I am doing it on the piece of white that I'm going to mount onto my slimline card. But if you're working on your slimline card, that's absolutely fine, okay? So I'm going to take a sentiment from the very same set. So I'm just going to push that to one side, let it do its thing. Can you see the cabin starting to bleed? It looks absolutely wonderful. It looks like I've painted that. Like I say, I like things that make me look better than I absolutely am. So I have the sentiment here. And this one is, may your days be merry and bright, because I'm going for the Christmas theme here. Now you can stamp the sentiment straight on if you like your clean and simple cards, but I am going to do it on a piece of, another piece of card here so I can sit it on there, okay? Now, black is obvious, isn't it? So let's go with the teal here. This is like a dark tealy colour. I know you've all bought a selection of your own coloured ink pads, so you can totally do your own theme. If you're a purple kind of girl or gent, then you can do it in purples, teals, browns, coffee colours, whatever you've got with you today. I know you can change it up when you come to repeat the process. So let's stamp this one down. Try and get it as straight as possible. So there we are. Nice little sentiment there. So also, now you're probably thinking, hey, we're flying through these cards. We are, and I've got some backups as well because I'm going to keep you all in. While you're all here, I am totally keeping you here, let me tell you. Listen, when I start a class, I stay on a class. So we have this wonderful star here. So I'm going to stamp a star. Now, if you're into your embossing and things like that, you can totally go to town. Black, silvers, golds, whites, resist. But I do love a good watercolour card that's going to make me look better than I absolutely am. So I'm just going to take the star. I'm just going to pop him up here. So we're doing all of this work whilst this bit dries because we haven't finished this yet, remember? So I'm just going to take this here. Now, you can see that this has been mounted onto a little bit of scrap black. But a cool technique that I like to do is take your black ink pad. And I just like to bring my ink pad in slightly and just chamfer around the edge. And it cuts that matten layer, but still creates a little bit of dimension when I come to pop it on my card, and you'll see in a second. So you get like a little bit of a shadow around there. So let's stick this onto our card. Now, if you've done it direct on your card, you don't need to do this part, but let's get this stuck onto my card whilst it's drying. Super quick card, this one. So I'm just going to pop this straight onto the slimline card. If you've done it on a piece of white, give that a second to grab. Just grab a piece of card just to stop that from getting a mucky paw print on there. I'll use my insert. It's called the Instant Artist. You can see why, can't you? Now you've seen me do this cabin, you can see why. Honestly, I love it. So we have our wonderful cabin. You can see actually the difference in colours. I didn't realise I'd use totally different colours. So then I'm just going to grab our lovely sentiment that's got that exterior of the shadow with that ink, and I'm just going to pop it on the top here. So bearing in mind, I haven't, see how it gives you that sort of glow around without any matte and lay. It's a really cute way to get rid of bulk on your cards as well, which I know really does help. So there we go. So now I'm happy. I'm ready to get the black inlay on here. So I'm going to bring the same stamp and I'm just going to ink it up in black, and I'm just going to stamp it direct on top. And this is where you're going to get that sort of burnished, freehand, watercolour sort of effect. Now it does look cool on craft card. It looks cool if you stamp it in brown as well. So experiment with different colours. So I'm just going to take this, I'm just going to pop it on top. Now it's a little bit difficult to see through because of all the texture, but I always just line it up with the tips of the trees at the top. Now do bear in mind that if the image is a little bit wet, you're not going to get a strong black print. Now this is where your stamping aids and things are going to come back into play. I have my own tool here, but so I would just repeat stamp until I'm absolutely happy that colour has transferred over. So hopefully we get a good print from this here. I wouldn't want to line it back up if I'm completely honest. And then look at that, you get the drop shadow from the cabin and the trees, giving you that wonderful look. Isn't that just amazing? How cool is that? I didn't pick up a brush. I didn't pick up a pen, a pencil. I just spritched the card and then let it bleed and then stamped the outline back on in an incredible detail. Now, you could have done that in gold embossing, white embossing on black card. Absolutely beautiful. Now, on this one, I just added some sparkle in the trees to get sort of a Christmassy feel on there, but you could totally leave it as it is. So that's card number 1. How quick was that? Are we all good so far? Drop me a comment in because you're like, how many cards are we doing today, Tony? How many cards? 2, 3, 4, 5? Well, you know, Jenny did say that I could just have over an hour, so there's a possibility we'll be doing more than 4 cards, which is wonderful. So shall we just line this one up on the back? Let that dry as well. And then I don't need a minute. I was told I have to give you a minute or 2. So clean your stamp off. Let's move on to the next card. Super easy here. So let's just pop these stamps back on to our carrier sheet. Now, if you're crafting along, you'll be doing this also. So I'm just going to take my cabin off, pop it back on my carrier sheet. And the sentiment. So this is just giving you the opportunity to regather. We've got so much to show you. So the next one we're going to do has some inky techniques too. Now, we will have to do this in stages because we have to let it dry between our lovely layers. So I'll just move this out of the way for now. So we're going to use our wonderful Reflection. Now, Reflection collection is this one here. And basically our Reflection collection is an inbuilt reflection. So you can do it in water, you can do it in shadows, you can do it in the sky. And the base layer is sort of jaded. So it looks like it's a ripple in some water. Or it just looks like a general shadow. So if you want to put a lamppost behind with a light to come through, you can totally do that. So we're going to sort of like replicate this Halloween-y type style card here, where you can see how we've got the reflection coming down here. We've got some ghosts, we've got some lovely texture in there, we've got that lovely sentiment, Creep It Real. Now, to get that lovely background, which is super easy, let's just grab our card. So again, if you're working straight onto a card blank, that's fine. We're going to be working on a little A2. Just move that out of the way. Onto a little A2. Let me just make sure I'm using the right card. And this is how I like to do my card. So I've got my little A2 and then I have a piece of white that goes on the top. But if you just have an A2, you can totally do it on here. Just make sure that it's dry. Okay, so let's just move our card blank out of the way. And I'm not going too fast for anyone. Tell me to slow down. Just I'm a bit giddy. I think everybody's happy though. So far, so good. So on the sample one here, it's a bit moody. It's blacks and blues. I think I'm going to do a purpley type style one now. Shall we pop a bit of pink in there? Just play around with some colour on this one. So I have my card. Now the card is just normal white cardstock, just something I had in my stash. I couldn't tell you if it's anything fancy, but it worked, so I'm happy with that. So I'm going to get some purple, and I'm just going to pop some onto my glass mat here. Now I did ask that you had a spray bottle, so hopefully you've got a spray bottle to hand. Now you're all running to the sink, aren't you? And grabbing the flower sprays. You're all gone for the hose in the garden. So I'm just going to spray this up and create myself a little bit of a puddle. And I always like to put my hand in and do a little bit of a mess here. So I have some tissue. And then I'm just going to pop my card straight into. Let the card drink that colour. And get some texture on there. Now I always get rid of that one and move on to a next colour. But if you like to do textured backgrounds and things like that, then obviously mop up with extra card. So a bit of pink too. Now if you have white spaces, it's always cool to have white spaces because reflections are never perfect. So if you have a bit of a white space, that's cool too. So then I'm just going to pick up my card, dip it in. I think I'm just going to have a little bit of pink on this one. She says, stop right now. And then I'm going to pop a bit of blue in as well, just to give it that deep, moody. I love anything that tells a story. I love wood. I love texture. I love realism in cards, things like that. So when everybody looks at it, they all see it differently. That's what I like about cards. And ink is just absolutely wonderful, isn't it? So a bit of ink on here, a bit of blue. Don't want too much blue, but we'll go with a little bit. I think I'm going to leave that. I like the texture on that one. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Now, a cool way to get like a little bit of texture and things like that, if you have a brush, you can pop some colour on if you splat. What I like to do is, I'm just going to grab another colour here. So whatever colours, what's everybody playing with? What colours? Have they all got very similar colours to me, or are you just playing? I'd love to see what colours you're all playing with, because I didn't give you any specific colours, did I? So I have a teal here. Now I am just popping my fingers in and giving it a flick so you can see. You get that lovely spatter. If it helps though, you can totally pick it up with a brush. You have a brush to hand. Might get a little bit more. There we go. But you can pick it with your fingers, do whatever you've got. And this just adds a little bit of texture, detail, interest, should we say. And we'll try and use as much of this colour as we can. A good tip for you all is don't wear a white blouse. It's not a good sketch. So I'm basically making some stars, some texture. But you can do the flicking motion with your hand if you want to, or anything like that. So there we go. So this is the start of our moody Halloween card, because as you know, in the UK, we don't really do Halloween. So Creeping It Real is totally cool right now for me, honestly. I've had so much fun with Halloween, I can't tell you. So that is the start of our second card. Now I am going to let that dry, okay? So you just sort of need to move this aside, and we're going to move on to another card while that's drying. Just set that aside. That's going to look totally cool. And I wish I'd have done purple now to start with, because loving it, loving it. So let's just move our card so I don't get confused. So you're just going to move that to one side to dry. And then we have to do some clean and simple cards, don't we? Right, let's just tidy our station. So this time, we'll come back to our reflection stamp, which is probably... Now, reflection, everybody loves in the UK, and I have a feeling as soon as you guys see it, you're going to absolutely love it. We have a whole bunch of different reflections. So we've done the cabin and we've done reflection. I think this time we need to do our lamination stamps, okay? So this is that wonderful gown where you create the watercolour dress and then you pop the outline on and she quickly comes to life. And it's a beautiful lady walking away into the distance. So let's have a play with the lamination. Now we're just going to stick with the A2 cards here. I didn't want to overcomplicate with shaped cards and things like that. So again, 2 A2 cards. We're going to do 2 with this one, if that's okay. Now, if you're thinking, I didn't have any A2 cards or I didn't have the right shaped cards, just grab a piece of white cardstock and stamp the process out, because then you can trim them down when you do get cards or when you're happy that you've enjoyed yourself. So 2 cards, here we go. And then I've got 2 pieces of white. But again, you can work straight onto the card blank. There are simply no rules. So let's show you how wonderful lamination is. Now, lamination was born, my company was born from lamination. So lamination means to layer, and it just makes you look better than you are. Very similar to what we just did with the cabin, but if you want to look like you've spent ages painting, this is absolutely brilliant. So all you're going to do is you're going to grab the solid portion from your stamp set, which is this piece here. And this is where you get to be really creative with your colours. Okay, so you can do it you can do an ombre gown, you can do multicoloured, you can do a wow powder, do it in gold and then pop the outline on. So I'm going to do 2 here at the same time because we're going to do 2 different cards. Okay, so we're going to use the solid portion. Now, what colour? This is the problem. What colour are we going to do our dress? So I think we should do a teal and for the guys and then a pink, maybe an orange for the girls. How does that look? I think that looks cool, doesn't it? So, bit of teal all over this gown. Again, you're going to need your spray bottle because that's what gives you that lovely, realistic look. Now, the cool part about lamination is the outline is that good that if you don't want to use this solid portion and you want to colour the stamp yourself, if you've got colourists, then they can still colour them. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of darker down the base here. So great question. You're not very good at layering. How precise? You get about 1 mil, which is fantastic for your lineup. I would say if you've got a stamping press or an aid to help you, then obviously that helps even better. Because if you're doing it with a block, you've only got that one shot, haven't you? And I'm a little bit nervous about using my acrylic blocks this evening. But yeah, particularly with lamination, if you don't line it up, we call it the one and done artist, one and done cards. So if you don't quite get it right, it still looks awesome. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. So now I've got a bit of teal. I've got like a lighter teal down into a darker one. I'm just going to spray the stamp. You can spray it as many times as you want. I think you'll do it once. If you spray too much, you'll just spray less on your second one. So for this one, I think I'm going to go down here somewhere. Let's just give it another spray because I don't want that harsh line in the centre. So here, I'm just going to go, let's go left. So when you press it down, watch what happens. The gown it all bleeds together beautifully. And when I lift this off, I'm just giving the card the opportunity to drink the ink. When I lift it off, I'll end up with like what looks like a horrible puddle. But as soon as you add that second layer, that's where it comes to life. So I'm just giving the card the chance to drink that ink. Because I put quite a bit of water on that one. So this is the teal one. And then for the other one, we're going to do pink and orange, okay? Now, in these 2 cards, we are going to use some of the other stamps that are in the set. So when you pull it off, this is what you're left with. You're like, how does that work? You will soon see. So I'm just going to set that one aside. I'm going to bring in the second one. Let that dry, and let's clean our stamp. And then this one will go orange into pink, or pink. I mean, you could just do one colour if you want to. Let's just have some fun all over. Bit of pink all over. And a little bit of orange. Oof, crikey, that's bright. If you use too much water, you will end up with a huge puddle, okay? Total puddle, and you won't spray it as many times next time, okay? But sometimes it's worth just seeing the card through. Wait till it dries, dry it off with your gun. Add the second layer. You might be surprised that it still looks okay, because we have a gentleman on our design team called Paul, and he really likes the strong bleed, and he always gets comments on his card, so it's preference. I would probably say spray twice or 3 times. If you feel it's too much, pull one back. If you do it twice and it's not quite enough, you want it a little bit more watercolourish look, spray it a 3rd time. Honestly, it's a piece of card. If you don't like it, can go in bin, grab another, try a different colour, try less sprays, more sprays. It's the process that is wonderful for this system. So with this one, I've sprayed it 3 times on this one, but you can still see I've got some light lines in there. So I'm just going to maybe give it one more. And then on this one, I'm going to go landscape, and I'm going to go straight in the centre here. So when you pop it down, press, let the card drink the ink. Super, super easy, honestly. How are we liking so far? Are we into this sort of watercolour stamping? Now, this is how Stamps by Me was born. We started this 10 years ago. I mean, look at that. I didn't pick up a brush. I didn't pick up a pen or a pencil. The stamp's doing all the work for me. So this started 10 years ago. I had a previous job and I just loved craft, and I was like, I really want to do it full time. So I started with a handful of watercolour stamps, and I went to UK TV, and they sold through within the hour, and I just knew from then on that it was something that I wanted to do forever. Nobody's going to stop me now. So which inks are best for this particular technique? So all the ones that reactivate with water, so you've got your general ones, we have our own, but there is your wonderful eyes inks, there's your distress inks, to name but a few. So all the ones that activate or reactivate with water, the bleaching techniques and things like that. They won't work with the pigment inks because they've got that oil base, so that won't move around, so just bear that in mind. But all of the other ones, they are good to go, really. So let's get the solid portion, let's get the outline of our stamp. Now you can see the lovely outline of this lady here now. So you can see when we ink her up in black, she looks beautiful in a white pigment ink just on black card. So you can use this second layer as an entity on its own. It doesn't have to be combined with the watercolour part of the stamp. Now when you come to line it up, I've got nothing on my stamp right now, but as you can see, when you come to line it up, it isn't perfect. Can you see that? And that is the beauty. I haven't inked it up yet, by the way. This is the beauty of lamination. It never gives you a perfect design. And when that lovely lady just asked there, how precise, how lined up does it need to be? It doesn't have to be precise because it's very forgiving on the eye. It looks like somebody's just gone with a paintbrush. Okay, so that's the beauty of this. Absolutely amazing. And we have hundreds and hundreds of lamination designs. So I think we're still a little bit too wet. But on this card, we can do some other work because this is the sort of card that we're going to replicate or try and achieve. So this is the lovely gown here, and then we have this beautiful floral scattered around the outside. And this is just going to give us a little bit of focus on the lady's gown. So I'm just going to pop on here. So we're just giving our gowns the opportunity to dry before we add the outline. So I'm going to ink it up in black. Now, I do love one of my all-time favourites. I just need to move that stamp. One of my all-time favourite things to do is wow powders. I'm a little bit obsessed. But I felt like this is my first show, my first ever workshop, and it would be one step too far maybe for you guys at home, and definitely it would be for me for my first one. But I love like gold embossing and texture and layers and things like that. So if you've got the courage to do that yourselves, then that would look totally cool. So here we have our lovely flower coming together around the card. So change it up a little bit, just capture some of the flower in some of the areas. I'm not going full flower, just capturing some of the elements, maybe the leaves and the foliage, just so it looks like she stood maybe in a bouquet of flowers. I'm just going to follow that process all the way around, and then I can show you a little bit of a cheat on how to get these coloured without just change it up from the other side. And we'll just do a little bit round here. So if you have groups or classes where they do not want to colour, because trust me, I get it all the time in my classes, I don't want to colour, it takes too long. Then this is a nice little shortcut for you actually. So I'm just filling in some spaces there with some of the foliage that's got a little bit of ink on. Just creating a nice frame. There we go. So just get rid of that stamp for now. I'll just clean my mat. So I'm just going to give that one a second to dry with that black ink, and let's bring in our other card. So we're doing 2 cards at the same time here, guys, which is wonderful. This is how quick the cards are. So on this one, I'm going to have a sentiment, and it's life is made of small moments like this. And it's a lovely, solid stamp. So you're going to need the sentiment that's next to the girls at the bottom, and it says life is made of small moments like this. I love positive sentiments, uplifting sentiments. I love feel good factor sentiments. So I'm just going to take the sentiment. I'm just going to pop it down by the side here. Of course I can. Great question. Does that help? Sorry, Linda. Good tip, that, darling. Right, so here we go. So we've got our lovely life is made of small moments like this. And then I'm going to do a lovely teal heart. Can we see the heart? Now, this heart is wonderful. It's a distressed heart. So it's not perfect in any way. So you get that lovely heart. And I think I'm going to go with teal. Now, again, you can spray with water or you can stamp direct. I'm just going to stamp direct on this one, but you can do whatever you like. I just move those out just slightly so I can just bring these in for you all. So I'm just going to take the heart and I'm going to sort of like focus on it coming up from our sentiment here. So you get that lovely textured heart on there too, which is really, really pretty. Now, I think we'll give these a shot at stamping these ones out now. So just move those over a little bit. There we go. So let's go with our lovely lady here. Just move this one out of the way for now. So I'm going to do it in black. Now you can see she's holding a bouquet of flowers there. There's no great, there's no facial features on there, so it's very soft. It's a really, really wonderful design. She's got flowy hair, her gown's very flowy. So when we stamp it onto this watercolour piece here, very forgiving in design. You can see here, look. You get the light texture and the lovely full gown. And then if you add some sparkle, you can be really creative, really creative. So I'm just going to take the lady. Now, the way that I like to line it up, super easy, is the little bodice on there, line it up with the top of the bodice, and it doesn't really matter if we go out or in. I'm just going to go about there. And I'm just going to push, push, push in the hope that it's dry enough. How wonderful is that? Now that is awesome. I mean, I'm biased, I know, but to get that look is absolutely incredible. Now I'm just going to, you might want to do the same if you didn't. I'm just going to grab that flower stamp back. I'm just going to pop some flowers so it doesn't look like she's floating across the base here. Just capture a little bit. So it looks like she's inside my lovely wreath of flowers there. So a cool thing to do in relation to, I just think that's still drying, so we'll come back to this one. But this one, now if you're not a colourist, but you want to get a bit of colour in here, now this one has been coloured with pens. So if you have colourists, this is a great flower. It's massive open spaces. You just follow the lines and you'll get that natural light and shade. But what happens if you don't have colourists in your group, which my lot hate colouring? I'm sure if they tried, they'd be awesome, but they hate it. So I always like to get a blending brush. Just move that out of the way for now. And let's bring a yellow in, for instance. So if you're bringing a yellow, I always try and choose a different colour to the actual design itself. So I'm going to get a lovely bright and breezy card here. Now, I can't wait to see all of your cards. And please post your makes in the Facebook page as well, the Collins Facebook page, Stamps by Me, because I'd be really excited to see what colours you've all chosen and how you've done it or your interpretation of it. Because I mean, I love what I do, but it's always nice to see how people maybe change it up or maybe just do exactly the same. So I'm just going to get a little bit of yellow here on my brush. I'm just going to get a bit of scrap card. And this is the way that I sometimes like to just add a little bit of colour to my flowers without getting a brush out. So I just take off the excess here and then I just add a halo in the centre. I'll just press on a little bit harder because I'm not sure that's showing. So can we see now? So we've got a beautiful soft flower. And this is, again, for those crafters, because I do think some crafters like to speed craft too. I'm sure you can relate. But then you have your crafters who will spend hours and hours painting, texture, layers. So you have that wonderful yellow in there now. But I'm just going to add a touch of orange to the centre too. Get rid of all of the, and then just maybe... There we go. Can you see how it's giving you that glow? I don't understand light and shade. I'm not brilliant at it. I like to watercolour, but I'm not incredible at it. But this is sort of like, this is making me look good, right? So there we have quite a cool card. Now, again, I would do exactly what I did with my first card, and I'd take an ink pad and I would just edge the ink pad with whatever colour, orange, yellow. You can't really see it, but it just grounds your card when you come to pop it onto a white card blank, okay? So just ground that card. Now I'm going to set that to one side to dry. That's coming together pretty awesome. So, is everybody loving lamination? You'll have to let me know. So let's just pop this to one side. Let's just tidy up a second whilst we finish our other card, because I think it's good to go now. What kind of stamp was the cabin? What kind of stamp was the cabin? Seasonal. Christmas it could be. Sorry, I didn't quite understand. It could be Christmas, it could be autumn, it could be getaway breaks. Gents, brilliant for gents cards, blacks and greys and dark greens and things like that. But yeah, festive, I use it mostly for the festive season, but totally your call, really. So let's just move this one out of the way. Guess what? My reflection collection background's drying beautifully. I hope yours is too. So let's pop the outline onto this one. So again, I'm going to go black. Just move this out of the way. So you need to bring in the one that you did in a different colour and bring in your stamp. And again, this is going to give you a totally different look because we used teal. So again, I'm going to line that bodice up the best that I can. And listen, I don't think I've lined this up great here. Let's have a look. And if I haven't, it'll show you how cool it is when I tell you that if you don't line it up great, it still looks cool. Look at that. Can you see how the bodice is slightly off? Still looks awesome. That was not intentional. That was a happy accident. I didn't quite line it up. But you can see you still get that full gown. So if you have crafters in your class that have a little bit of a tremor, a shake, a little bit worried about, oh, am I getting this right? If you don't, look how awesome it still looks. So I'm just going to edge this one with a bit of a blend. So on this one here, I just went round with a little bit of a pink just to draw your eye in. So I'm going to do the same with this one. I'm just going to grab a blending brush again. And we'll go teal. So, and then I just like to pop it on my glass mat and then just add a halo all the way around. Very soft. So I'll just put this ink around and then I will answer any questions. Just one second. So just pop the ink onto like your glass mat and then just drag it round. And then you prevent any of those harsh lines. I'm just basically scooping that ink off my mat, avoiding that yellow. Then just going round, getting lighter and lighter. No more ink. Just going round, round, round. And it gives you this wonderful, wonderful blend. Great question. Could you dry it with a gun? You totally could dry it with a gun. The only reason I didn't dry it with a gun is because I didn't know if everybody would have a gun. It's my first workshop, so I was just like, I better not, just in case somebody hasn't got a gun and then I race ahead and they get left behind. So still learning. Next one, we might use our gun to speed it up. Mind you, saying that, we're going quite fast already, but yes, of course, you could use your gun to speed up that process. So let's put this one onto our card blank. So if you did it straight onto your card, then you're totally cool. But can you see now how when you sort of matte and layer onto white, you get that beautiful finish border on your card here. Now you could add some sparkle to a gown. We have our Gossip sparkle pens. You'll have something similar in your stashware, or glitter, where you can totally make it really sparkly if you want to, or you know, if you're clean and simple, no sparkle kind of crafter. Basically, all of our things, you have options. Whether you want to look better than you are, you can. If you want to use one part of the stamp concept, you can. So if you do have advanced crafters who are colorists and things like that, of course, they can just fire away and go on and create some amazing stuff. But if you have the basic of basic crafters, maybe brand new crafters, these are absolutely brilliant. So hopefully now I've unblocked my glue. There we go. I'm just going to pop this one on here. Sequins, buttons, like little spots of sparkle gel to create the buttons down the backs of gowns, sparkle on the bouquet. And if you look at it, it doesn't even look like anything. It's a suggestion, which I find totally cool. I absolutely love it. And then this one, I felt like we could do this one as a landscape. And as you can see, because we went round with that ink pad, can you see how it sort of grounded it, stopped it from floating? You don't have to do that process, but, you know, the options are there to do so. So let's pop this one down. So again, give yourself. Now, if you want to 3D the word or stamp direct, you can do that too. This one has it just in the focus here. So you can see the different ones. So this one has been coloured with pens, but you could do it with pencils. And this one has that lovely idea of getting that colour down without picking up a single thing. So let's get our sentiment on here. Now you have a ton of sentiments in this wonderful A4 set, and they are all seasons. This set is wonderful for all times of the year. I've tried to put it together so you have festive, you have everyday, you have girl power type style ones with the girls in there, and then the sentiments fit throughout the year. So I have find your own happiness, life is not a dress rehearsal, which is very fitting for the gowns as well. So I think we'll do life is not a dress rehearsal. So, and this one says be stronger than your dreams, which is also incorporated in that set. So let's just pop this one on here. And I like to put my sentiments quite close to the design. There we go. So it just gets rid of that little bit of open space on there. If you're a little bit fearful of just a white space, then a nice sentiment always fills it for you there. So let's just have a look at this one. So you should have two pretty cards. Let's show you. So far so good, ladies and gentlemen. So that is sort of like the third demo. I know those two we did together. So it's second demo actually, because I wanted to do two cards at the same time with this one. So let's have a look. Could you use the outline stamp of the lady to stamp it in embossing powder and then no line colour? Absolutely. And that's what I was saying about the two-part element. Although they're built to work together, you so do not have to use them together. Be creative. If you're a bit more advanced, they look wonderful stamped into really thick embossing powders and things like that. So you get that like lovely seal effect on there as well. So there's a lot of stuff you can do. Now I chose the gown because I felt like the gown would see you through the whole year. But when you come to see our catalogue, you will see we have a whole bunch of lamination from florals to creative paintbrushes to ladies. There's just birds. There's just so much stuff. So cool. So let's just pop these on the back. Then we'll just take a few minutes for you to clean your station because we're going to move on to another card. So we'll clean our stations together. I'll just pop these on the back here and then I'll have a look, see if there's any questions while we're cleaning up. In fact, let's just shuffle them down because we've got a few going on. So this is your opportunity to clean your mats or put your stamp back, get ready for the next one on here. So let's have a look. Too much water. So great question. What could I be doing wrong? I'm not getting a watercolour look. My ink is beading. Too much water. Try less water. And that's a common question. And that's the experiment. 1 squirt, 2 squirts, 3 squirts. And sometimes it can depend on the cardstock. So if you've got a cardstock that has a lot of chalk content, it just drinks that ink really quick. It doesn't give it the opportunity to move around a little bit. Or you could have one which is a little bit smoother and it just bleeds and bleeds and bleeds and bleeds. So try it on different things like great ones, craft card, white card is totally awesome. So try a few different things. Pattern papers look cool, the muted colours as well. Yeah, so try use less water, see what happens. Right, so let's move on to our next card then. Am I okay for time? I'm brilliant for time. Oh, crikey, I'm doing something right. So I just wanted to show you this cute card here. Now, again, we're not setting the world on fire with this sort of card, but I just wanted to show you that although it is an A4 stamp set, I have tried to cover all of the seasons. And, you know, birthday fun, girl power is something that I'm incredibly passionate about, you know, about uplifting each other, having fun, and most of all, sharing the love of craft, whether that's with children, adults, elderly, females, males. If you're crafting and it's making you happy, it makes me very happy. You know, just a bit of paper can make you so happy. It's crazy, isn't it? So I have a card blank, okay, and I have a piece of white for the front, but you can totally just go straight onto the card blank. So we're going to create this lovely heart background, super simple, but what I'm going to do this time is, obviously this is orange or coral. Let's do a little bit of a multicoloured background here. So we'll do a pink one. So again, ink it up. Now you can spray this one as well, totally up to you. So I like to stamp on and off the page, okay? So don't do them all like in a bunch in the centre. Try and do some off and on, like so. So we'll do 3 of each colour. So I'm going pink for 3, and then I'm going to grab a different colour. So that's pink, and then let's do a purple. It's a lovely textured heart is this one. I love this one. Looks brilliant in embossing too. So pink, purple. Let's go orange. I'm just going to clean off my stamp. So if you're changing colour, clean off your stamp with tissue or a cloth. So let's go orange. And then once we've done this one, we're going to go back to our wonderful reflection stamp set. So just a lovely, fun background there. So you might want to do a few in the middle, maybe. This is like a tutti frutti card, if anyone asks anyway. So I'm just going to keep all the ones in the centre orange. So again, you could use your pigment inks on this one. I'm just going with the inks I have to hand, but you can use whatever inks you have. There we go. So there's our lovely background. So on a separate piece of paper, which is 4 by 3.5, 4 by 3.5 if you are wanting to do exact. But this was just a bit of scrap that I had. And you can see here now, when we'll come to layer it on, how cool does that background look? So I'm going to take that wonderful stamp of the 3 girls stood together. Now, very fitting for prom, weddings, friendship, going out besties, whatever occasion you feel fit. But I think it's just a lovely, lovely, you know, let's get together type style stamp. So I'm going to take the stamp and grab a block. Like so. And we'll just ink it up in black. Now, the cool part about this particular set is, and I'll show you some samples, ladies and gents, because I have a ton of samples for these. I'll show you at the end. You can paper piece the dress. So if you stamp her onto pattern paper and cut away the dress on like a little spotted patterned paper, you could have spots in a skirt and things like that. I'll show you some samples when we've done the class. So I'm just going to stamp the girls into the centre of this card here. I hope everyone's having a great time. It's fun, isn't it, when we're all crafting together? So look at that. That looks cool, doesn't it? Now, I am just going to... Now, you could if you wanted to, but you can take a little bit of the ink to match your background and pop some colour into their bows of their hair. Can you see I've got 3 orange bows because they're all besties and they all want to be the same. But then you can see this heart here and I've cut it out. So just going to bring my heart back and I think we will, let's have a think. I'm going to go orange. So I'm just going to stamp this onto some scrap when I find some. Here we go. And I'm going to take my little sentiment. Now, in the set you have, guess what? Like it was meant to be, you have a little sentiment that says birthday fun, and it fits beautifully in this heart, just by chance. So I'm just going to get rid of that heart. And we'll stamp this one in black into the heart. This is a beautiful font as well. And we'll just stamp birthday fun into the heart there. And then I'm just going to take the world's biggest scissors. I mean, come on. That's all that about. And then I'm just going to cut the heart out. And again, because it's sort of a distressed heart, I like the very fact that when you cut it out, you still get white. Looks quite cool. You see that there? Birthday fun. So let's get our card built together. Just tidy up a bit in the process. So let's get our backing on. So again, you could edge the edges with an ink pad if you wanted to make it pop, but I think I'm going to leave this one. You don't have to do it on all your cards. And if you like your matte and layers, so you could matte and layer it onto a piece of black if you want to. It is personal preference. I know we all like to do our own little thing. So I'm just going to pop that on there like so. And then just give that a second to grab. And then we'll take our lovely ladies. Now again, I think you could edge if you wanted to, but I'm just going to go with no edging on this one. So for those of you that thought, oh, I'm not keen on the edging, maybe this one helps you make that decision, because this has no edging at all. Now you could put foam pads behind if you want to raise it up. And then we have our lovely birthday fun. Let's do it so it's on a little bit of an angle so it matches that pink one just there. That looks cool, doesn't it? Now you could add sequins, but there we go. I mean, super easy. So one all in one colour, one in multicoloured. You could do mats and layers or whatever you want to. And you could totally colour this if you wanted to as well. So that is another card, another one bites the dust. So let's put this one on the back. Crikey, crikey. Look at all the cards. Right, let's tidy our station and let's go back to reflection, which is awesome, by the way. So let's just tidy up. Now clear your workstation and bring back the piece of card that you all distressed. Here we go, look at mine. That looks quite cool, doesn't it? I'm pleased with that one. So before I do anything, I'm going to add a little bit of blending around the edge because I really want a bit of mood. Can we see here? You see these black spots here? I just did it with my blending brush. So I'm going to take a little bit of this purple. Let's just get a mat here. I'll get my own purple too. That might be a little bit darker. Let's just grab a brush. So any blending brush, whatever you use in your stash, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm just going to, let's try this one first. So I'm just going to edge it a little bit. That's probably not dark enough. No, that's not dark enough. Let's try mine. There we go. So I'm just going to go. So this is very watercolour. So I'm just sort of like drawing your eye in a little bit here with a little bit of ink blending around the edge because I want it to look a little bit moody because that's what Halloween is all about, right? So I'm just going around the edge. I don't want to encroach into all of my white space, but I would like a little bit of moody going on. And because we've got a bit of blue in there too, let's add some hues of blue. So the rubber mat here is our Show Grip mat. So basically it stops my brushes from rolling around when I'm painting or ink blending, and it also stops my ink pad from moving on my mat. Normally it would do that, wouldn't it? Nightmare. If you pop it on here, it doesn't move at all. Got pure sort of like stability on your table there. These are available and will be when you come, if you come and have a look at our catalogue. That's if you've enjoyed today, that is. Hopefully I've done a good job. So let's just add a little bit of blue in some areas. Now I'm not going all the way around, but what I want to do is, so you see like I've added hues here. I'm just going to try. So you need to decide which way you're going to, I think I'm going to go this way. I'm going to try and add some patches, some dark patches, so it looks a little bit like, ooh. You see, so a little bit there, maybe a little bit here. Now you could go in with black if you've got the confidence. I don't go in with black on this one though because I've used pink. I would have done if I'd have used the blue, but I'm going in because it's got a pink under there. I think I might just dare to go a bit darker. I mean, what's the worst that could happen, right? He says. So I'm just adding like a little bit of texture in the sky, because I want my witch to be flying through the sky. So now let's just get rid of this blue on here. Now I am going to, and the great thing about this mat as well, ladies and gentlemen, is it folds up and then it works as a cup holder, heat resistant cup holder as well. So I always have my cup of tea on it if I'm not using it. Right, so let's bring in our wonderful reflection stamp. And I do have a whole bunch of samples to show you at the end, so make sure you stay tuned for those. So first of all, I'm going to stamp it out on some scrap paper first, because it's a brand new stamp and it might need a little bit of help. And because I'm not using my wonderful stamping platform to help me, I'm worried it might not stamp first time. So for those of you lovely people that are asking about our Paper Craft Society box, that wonderful box with all of the wonderful goodies in, you need to come and join in our meeting, in our sales meeting, to see that. And if you have any particular questions, I'll be able to talk you through it purposefully. So if you're thinking about coming and wanting to have a look through our sales meeting and our catalogue, what I would say to you is, as you go through the catalogue, if there's specific things that you absolutely love, say you like Reflection Collection or you like the Paper Craft Society box, make a note of what page it's on. Then when you come to the meeting, you'll be able to say, I'm really interested in page 5, Tony, and then I'll get it out and I'll show you, a ton of samples and what it incorporates and what it's actually about. Because we don't get that long, and as you can appreciate, our catalogue is huge. There is a whole bunch of stuff in there. So if you can stay focused on what you love, then we can have an in-depth conversation about it when we have our meeting. Is that okay? But the Paper Craft Society box is awesome for workshops, totally awesome. So I'm just going to stamp this one out first, sort of like get it going. Now, honestly, there is no right and wrong way with reflection, but if you ever look at it and wonder which way is the right way, one, there isn't really a right and wrong way, but if you look at it detailed, if you look at it closely, one of the layers, whether it be the top or the bottom, will be a little bit distorted. Now I can see down by the base, it's this part here that's distorted. And that's to give you that true reflection look. So if you're doing a rainy scene, a sunshine scene, a rainbow, in water, you want to put a little boat in the water, whatever it may be, you get that slight distort on the base. And that's the beauty of reflection. Oh, I'm pleased with that one. So there we go. So let's just move that away. So it looks beautiful just without, doesn't it? But I'm confident now it's going to stamp. So let's get our stamp. Get some ink on our stamp. And then I'm just going to take my card. So this is sort of like my moody sky. And then I'm just going to take my stamp and I'm just going to go. You can go a little higher if you want to. You could go a little lower. There are not many rules, I don't think. Let's just go here. So. I feel like I've gone back 10 years using acrylic blocks. I'm just making sure I get a really good print for you all. Hopefully. Yay! Ta-da! Totally cool, hey? So I have that lovely reflection. So the cool thing about it now is we can really, really go to town and create like a lovely scene. So in the actual stamp set, let's just show you this one. In the actual stamp set, I'll just bring it in here. You get a lovely little ghost. You get a witch on a broom. You also get the Santa and the sleigh for your Christmas ones. That's a lantern for Christmas. I'll show you samples. I have got a ton of them. Okay, and then you get your cabin as well. You get the stars, the snowflakes. It's a really, really cool set. And great value for money too. So we can stamp our witch in black and add a highlight. So let's show a stamper in black. Now on this card, I stamped her in white. Now if you've got a white ink pad and you just want to create a ghost-like look, then white is a great way. But I think we'll go black on the witch on this one. I think not everybody's going to have a white ink pad, I guess. So, but if you have, you could totally go white. So we could do our witch just flying through the sky. There we go. And then white gel pen. Everybody's got one of these, hopefully. And then this is where it sort of like starts to come off the page. So you see where you have the windows and the hills and the tower. Now, I always say, if you're doing lines in white gel pen, try and stick to one side or all at the front or all at the side. So let's say the light's coming from here down. So I'm going to go down the left of the building. So not at all, just add a highlight. So down the left. And we'll do a left in the windows. And it looks like you're adding a ton of highlight, but the gel pen does settle back. So let's pop a bit on the front here. So left. You see what I've done it on here? You see how it's sort of like coming to life as soon as you add that gel pen in the arch. So I'll just do half of the arch, little windows. You can absolutely go wherever you want. You can even add a little bit of a white onto the trees that are so get that gel pen out. Now you could add a little bit of a light onto your witch. So just down the side there, so she looks like she's coming off the page. Press on a little bit harder. It looks like she's coming in. Let's just get around here. Get on the tree. I think when you have a solid stamp like this, it's always good to have a gel pen. You see now how the white is creating that atmospheric sky, which is just a mop-up of ink that we did together. Now, if you did want to make it look like it was a reflection in the water, all you need to do is get a brush. In fact, I'll show you. So you see how we've got this mottle in here where we did the splats? It already looks like it's a bit of cool water, doesn't it? But if you wanted to accent that and make it look a little bit more like it was a reflection in some water, you could totally do that. So let me just grab a little bit of this. So the same colour we used, I'm just going to spritz with some water. And with a brush, just go down by the house and pull it out. Like in water. If you wanted to. You do not have to do this. You get a great look regardless. So totally up to you this stage. Maybe as soon as you've got it down, you have a bit more confidence. You see how it just sort of like makes it look like it's in water. And then once that's dry, you can then add the ripples in the water with your white gel pen. Don't be afraid of it. The colour that you put down always dries 2 shades lighter. Remember that, okay? 2 shades lighter. I'm just going to take a bit of blue now. Add a bit of blue in there too. Why not? My crafters are so lazy, but they love something that makes them look brilliant, and they absolutely love Reflection Collection because it's just totally awesome. It gives you that sort of realism in your cards. It's wonderful. So I'm just going to... And they're not afraid to say it either. They tell me, we're not doing a lot today, are we, Tony? I'm like, that's what you think. So I just add that bit of colour there. So whilst it's drying, before we add our white gel pen, I'm going to pop it on. You could totally use your pens. And you know what? If you've got your sparkle pens, you could add some sparkle. Oh, not that much, but you could add some sparkle in the water. You know, if you've got your clear iridescent sparkles, this is where you could really, really add that as if it is a reflection in some water, and you get that lovely sparkle in the water as well. So no rules craft. So let's just get this one on the card. very quickly. And then I'm just going to add some white ripples to the water and the lovely sentiment, which is wonderful. Creep it real. Come on, I mean, come on, creep it real. Then when you pop it onto its white card blank here, it instantly pops from the page. Look how awesome that looks. I mean, totally, totally awesome. So I'm just going to grab a sheet of paper or something just to, because it's wet, give it a push down. You could pop the ghosts on. You can see I've popped some little white ghosts on this one. And it has got some sparkly stars. But you, honestly, you do your style. So there we go. And then shall we just pop Creep It Real at the base here. There is also a star as well. I'm not sure if this is going to stamp now. I'll put that sparkle on, but we'll give it a go. It has. Creep It Real, look at that. And then all I would do, last thing, and I'm running out of time, is I would take the gel pen and I would add like just some suggestion of lines to suggest that it is the reflection in some water. And if you wanted to add a little white moon, you could totally do that. And then I'd just go back in and make these a little bit whiter. How's everybody getting on? Are you liking the white gel pen on the silhouette stamp? Hopefully. I'm hoping you've all got a lovely, lovely sort of very moody, very wonderful. I mean, look at those two. Now, I did exactly the same with both, but two completely different looks. Just check that out. Now, you could put a circle moon, so it looks like she's flying towards the moon if you wanted to. So I'm going to just put those to one side, give you a moment or two to clean your desk, and I'm just going to run through a couple of things with you. So I hope you've enjoyed those. I kept it really basic in the hope that, you know, you take that first step to come and enjoy the lovely sharing the love of craft with Stamps by Me. We are a family brand that pride themselves on quality, affordability, and most of all sharing the love of craft and encouraging brand new crafters. And we do lots and lots of items that encourage workshop, design-based, led, so you're all going to be able to get into the creative moment as well. In your kit though, you did get two wonderful embossing folders. Now again, white rose and a frame, and I just want to show you some wonderful samples for these to encourage you to have a play yourselves, because they are really beautiful. So these are our high definition embossing folders, which look beautiful embossed and debossed. Okay, they look gorgeous on both. They look incredible on white, painted. And let me just show you, when I say about our embossing folders, this is debossed, okay, debossed. Our high definition has up to 7 layers. We are king at embossing folders here in the UK. So 7 layers of dimension, front and back. So these two are the back, and that is the front. Absolutely beautiful. So I hope that encourages you to have a play with those. Now, I just want to show you, I know I'm running out of time, blah, 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 blah. Quick. Let me show you some samples from that lovely set where we've had colouring. Look at this one with the cabin and the witch. So you can build them in. So you can screen grab too if you want to. And this is what I was saying about the lovely girls. That's on some coloured pattern paper there. Maybe chop it up and do some bright and breezy ones. This is in a heart craft card with that sparkle. I mean, they're brilliant quick cards, aren't they? What about tone on tone, monochromatic? A little bit of cream, like a black and white sepia. The girls in front of the buildings. There are just a ton. This is a cool technique as well. So you swipe with your white ink pad and stamp it out. The girl again. So that's like the reflection collection with Santa. Embossing powder technique. And then look at this one. Stack of hearts. Have a magical time. So there we go. So I hope you've enjoyed this evening's show. I've had a fantastic time. And I always love being creative with stamps and ink. Now, I do want to show you one little cheeky thing. Don't tell anyone. I have time. I'm told I have time. So let me just show you one trick that works beautifully with our stamps. I'm just going to grab a card here. So in that set, can I just show this card, please? Look at this. This is that wonderful, like Langton, old-fashioned Langton. And then we have this beautiful flower with the leaves and things like that. So you can see how beautiful that looks. This is not complicated. It's super, super easy. But I just want to show you one thing. If you do have people in your class who say categorically, I don't want to colour, I'm rubbish at it. 9 times out of 10, it's the things that they're using, but they never understand, do they? So I'm just going to cut this down and I'm going to show you a quick shortcut to some colouring. Very easy. I'm just going to make a card blank here. Now, if you have a card blank, you can do it along, but you can do it after too if you want to. So on the heart card, could you please tell me the size of the white you stamped the girls on? I can. It is 4 by 2.5. 4 tall by 2.5. So let me just show you a little bit of a hack here. Hack. You love hacks in the USA, so I'm giving you a hack. You might have already seen it before, but it's a cool one. So this is the stamp of that Langton, okay? If you turn it around and so that the pattern is on the acrylic block, so you have the back side of the stamp here, so it's a solid portion, okay? If you use an ink pad and ink up the back, so this is the back of the stamp, remember? Can I give a quick explanation on the embossing folders? Just 1 second, I can. So I'm just going to spray this. So this is the back of the stamp, the back, okay? Stamp it out. And you get this, solid, okay? Clean your stamp. Turn it over. Just turn my block over as well so it's dry. Turn it over, and then when this is dry, you stamp this back in and you have a coloured design behind, okay? Let me just let that dry a second and let me just talk. Can you please give a quick explanation on how the coloured embossing folder images? So with these ones, this particular one, this one as well, and this one actually as well, we ink up the embossing folder. So you get your embossing folder, you open it up, you take the ink, and then you put the card in and run it through your machine. And then it'll come out with some sort of colour. And we just keep running it through and running it through. And then we just highlight it with a white ink pad. And on this one, it was done in black. The deboss was in black and then highlighted with a white ink pad around the edges. So it's just continuously run through the machine. A bit more ink, run through. A bit more different colour, run it through. And then when it's finished, we just accent it. So this one's been accented with white and a bit of gold. This one's been accented with just white to give you that lovely texture on there. And this one has just been run through with a white ink pad and you get that deboss, and that's that lovely, lovely frame, which is this one, autumn frame and white rose. So I will be doing tutorials on all of these as well to encourage you to play with them. We have tons and tons of videos on our actual YouTube channel as well, How to Craft Network. So if you want to check out the range and see how we do a lot of these cool techniques, you can totally do that as well. But let me just, have I got time just to stamp this one on top? So just take that ink, that stamp, and let's just, it's a bit wet. I think we'll get away with it though. And then just take, very similar to how you do your embossing folder actually, ink it up. And then once it's stamped on top, you have a lovely halo around a stamped image. Like so. Too big, the halo is too big. But then if you take your inks, your pens, your pencils, whatever you want to do, totally up to you, you can then paint back in the detail. So now, although I've got that lovely halo, now this looks wonderful in like your vintagey colours, okay? So I have the aid of that background colour, and it looks, sometimes can look hot mess to start with, but honestly, play around with it, have a play with your colour, move it around. Now I'm getting like a rusty finish look. Can we see that there? And then maybe a little bit down here. So having that lovely backdrop of that yellow is really helping me stay focused on nothing more than colour, because that white space is gone. That's the fear factor for me, that white space. Obviously this yellow bled a little bit too much, I sprayed it too much, but I'm hoping you get the idea of what I'm trying to show you here, is that although, you know, it's a one-dimensional stamp, and it's to be used in one way, you can already see now how I'm getting a wonderful texturized image. I'm not a painter, guys. I like to paint. I'm not good at it, but I will have a go. And these sort of techniques that are going to give us great results on our embossing folders or on our stamps, count me in. Totally count me in. Now, let's just add some lovely texture on here. So I'm just going to add a few splats. Now this is straight onto the card blank, so just pick up a little bit of that orange, add a few splats on there, just around. And try and get some there. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to add the splats there because I didn't like that big bleed. Like so. Let's just clean this up here. And then we can choose one of the other lovely sentiments. We've got a ton of sentiments. So let's have a look on our stamp set here. I hope you're all having fun, ladies and gentlemen. Honestly, these lovely this stamp set and all of our stamp sets obviously introduce your customers to the magical world of Stamps by Me and all of our wonderful techniques. Can't tell you the input and the lovely comments we get from our friends at home here in the UK. And I'm hoping, we are brand new to the USA really, and I'm hoping that people really will just enjoy the moment of being creative with Stamps by Me, because we really are passionate about it. We really do share the love of craft, and there's not many days when I'm not live in this studio being creative, and we always encourage new and old. So if they bought a product from us 2 years ago, if they continue to scan the QR codes, which are on the back of every single packet they buy, they're always going to be greeted with 1 video, 3 videos. If I've used it since they've bought it, that gets loaded on. It's an updating QR code, so they're always going to have inspiration. So if they get the product home and say to you, I bought it, you inspired me, I've forgotten, say to them, scan that QR code. Tony is there holding your hand. I do an out-of-the-packet experience. I do a basic. I do a little bit more advanced. And then say that lovely lady there said, how did you do the technique with the embossing folders? If I get a question like that, I get it back out the packet, I turn the camera on, and I do a video showing you how to do it. So there's always going to be that wonderful inspiration, no matter what. And I'm going to use this to stamp through my design. Have a magical time. So Linda says, Tony, can we have a look at the card you did today? Of course you can, darling. So that's just a little bit of a bruise it. I mean, the yellow's really bright. I wouldn't probably have done it that bright, but if just the idea of you being able to add a bit of texture on top of the backside of the stamp, you can do that. I'd give that a twirl. We love techniques. So let's bring in the cards that we've done. I'll grab them all. Ton of cards. Make sure it's clean. Right, so we had our wonderful cabin that we did together. So we have the sparkle, if you want to, or just flat. Look at the light in that cabin. I didn't paint that. That's just how it fell when I sprayed it. Totally cool, right? So that's the cabin one. And that's your slimline card we did. I'll just move that to one side. And then we did the lamination ones together, didn't we? So we'll just bring these ones back in. Nope, not that one, Tony. This one. So you can see different. I'll just hold it down with a magnet. So if you are grabbing it, there you go. So teal, orange, and then a bit of an eclectic mix on there. And then we had our wonderful heart card. which we did together, this one. She needs some sparkle on her skirt, doesn't she? And then we have, which has got that birthday there. And then we have the wonderful reflection collection with that wonderful Creep It reel as well. Now, if you, great question, the glass mats. The glass mat is magnetised. It holds all of my work in place if I'm playing. This is also going to be available. So you need to come and check out our lovely catalogue when it's time. Come and see us on the retailer. Chat, ask any questions about any products. Most of the everything that I've probably used this evening, brushes, mats, inks, everything. It's all going to be available for you guys. And I'm hoping I have inspired you in one way or another. We are a little bit different. We are a company that want to encourage new and old crafting, but a lot of technique. So a lot of the ideas that you will have seen over the course of 10, 15, 20, maybe 30 years if you've been crafting that long. Some of you said you have been crafting way more than that. You will have seen them do the full circle. But hopefully the encouragement from us is to cut out that awful technique, i.e. the reflection collection where we used to have to reflect it down. No, it's in the same stamp. Lamination makes me look like an artist, instant artist. So you're going to get, and then we have Quattro-D, which is the 4-stage system, 3D emboss, stamp, die and outline as well. So that is absolutely wonderful. And you need to visit our booth because we have something very special for you for the Quattro-D. So if you come and say hello, we have some incentives for you all should you make a little purchase with Stamps by Me. So whatever you're doing, have a lovely day. I hope I've inspired you. Let me see your makes on the Collins Stamps by Me Facebook page. I will see you all later. Take care, guys. Bye.